What's up, everybody? Adam here. This is going to be a short but extremely important video. And I'm making this video because I've now taken so many calls from people who are in all different stages of their entrepreneurial journeys and in all different phases of their lives. And I'm also going to share some observations that I've noticed in the period of entrepreneurship now, 13 plus years of brand building and agency building and educational content building. And I've been able to see so many different things that I think is really important to share for the sole purpose of motivating you. If you're serious about really making money and escaping the kind of standard rat race life that many of people out there are trapped in. And, I've been fortunate enough to make millions of dollars building e-commerce businesses and being an entrepreneur. And in the process, I've realized that it's not that difficult. It's not easy, okay? But it's also not impossible. And this video is going to be a really, really simple walkthrough that explains some of the concepts here. So bear with me as I show you what I'm talking about. This is a little graph. I saw something similar and I was super inspired to kind of give my spin on this because it just resonated with me so much. So in all my videos, I offer anyone an opportunity to book a call with me, to spend some time with me and pick my brain, basically, to talk to somebody who's actually done it at a high level and get my help. I take these strategy calls. I listen to people. I listen to their problems, their challenges, their dreams. I want to get to know them because if they're going to join my program, they need to be the right fit. I want people who are really mentally prepared and motivated to do it. Because the truth is, as you'll see in this video here, most people are not. The first observation I make is this. Out of 10 people that book a call with me, probably 6 of them actually show up to the call. And this is, pretty standard across, I think, most kind of like educational businesses. But it's just funny to me because you're the one who booked the call with me, right? Something about me resonated with you and you booked a call with me. You wanted to learn something and then you just don't show up. And I mean, I've done all kinds of things to motivate people. I send tons of follow-up messages. I send automated emails to them. I send SMS messages. I call them right away as soon as they book the call. It's so funny to me that like people will book a call and they just won't show up or they won't even reply back to the messages. And, I've done a good job of weeding out those people now because I have to make room for the people who are serious. But it's just a funny kind of anecdotal observation that I found that so many people just don't even either respect other people's time enough to, show up to a call that they themselves have initiated, or they forget, or, whatever other reasons that they have, they just don't show up. And sometimes I get people who book a call and I'm like, they say they're going to come multiple times. Yes, I'll be there. And then I'm sitting on the meeting waiting for them and they're not there. And then I call them and they're like, oh yeah, something came up. And I'm like, don't call me again. You've lost the opportunity to meet with me. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but like, if you don't respect your own self enough and my time enough to just send me a quick little message that says, hey, I can't make it, or just hit the reschedule button in the 20 messages I sent you, how are you going to succeed in entrepreneurship? How are you going to build the right networks and mentorships to be successful? I'm not going to introduce you to my high level people when that's your attitude. You just blew it. And, again, it's not to be a jerk, but like, let's be real here. That's a very easy test to see like how serious you are. So, probably a good chunk of those people just don't even remember. But for those that do show up to the call, I would say that even half of them are completely unprepared and not ready. They don't even know what to ask or care. And then, 2 out of 10 are like really serious and want to join right away and want my help and understand the value of it. And so this is a common thing across a lot of these type of educational businesses or programs or whatever, mentorships. But I just thought it was funny because I'm observing this stuff as I'm doing it, and I'm realizing, you know, the harsh reality of people. And I'm going to touch on that here right now. The truth is that most people, at least half, are just too afraid to try, right? They want something, they want to be rich, they want to have financial freedom, they want to have their own business, they want to live a certain lifestyle that they see, but they'll never actually take action. And that's because they're just afraid. Maybe they're not afraid of something like specifically like, oh, I'm afraid of failure, or I'm afraid of this doesn't work out. But it's like, it's just a fear that will stop them from actually taking the step. And I think one of the biggest fears that people have is fear of how they'll look, how they're going to appear to their family, their peers, their, coworkers, whatever, when they take that step. And they just never will because they're too scared of that. If there's one thing that you can take away from this video, and there's one thing that I can teach you after all these years of doing this, of, by the way, failing over and over and over again, and also succeeding in the process, is nobody gives a fuck. Stop caring about what other people think. It literally does not matter. And in fact, it's holding you back when you care about what other people think. Do not care what other people think. The minute you shed that from your life, from your persona, you are going to be more powerful than 99% of the people out there, because everybody else in the world operates on this kind of like unwritten thing of, oh, what do people think about me and how will I be perceived? And it holds you back from everything in your life. Stop caring about what other people think. And this is the biggest fear, the fear of how you're going to look. The other fear is fear of failure. And look, there's many reasons why people feel fear failure. It could be your upbringing. It could be just an ingrained thing. It could be kind of everybody's conditioned, right, by society or by their family. But the point is that a lot of people are afraid of failure. But it's a cliche statement for a reason. My dad always told me this as a kid growing up, and he still tells me this to this day when I call him and I have, a problem or a challenge or whatever. He repeats it to me, success follows failure after failure after failure. And I am so grateful that he ingrained that in my head, because I understood that without failure, you cannot succeed. You're not going to do amazing at everything. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to lose money. You're going to fail. You're going to look a certain way to a certain group of people. Who gives a shit, right? It's about how you get up again. It's about what you learn from those failures. If you stopped the first time you failed, you'd never do anything. Think about all the stuff you've done in your life. You learned how to ride a bike at some point. You probably learned how to swim. You probably learned how to, do math, do whatever skill that you have that you do for a living now. You weren't an expert at it the first time you tried it, right? Of course not. Nobody is. But you had to try. You had to fall off that bike and hurt yourself. You had to get fired from that job. You had to make those mistakes or fail to get to where you are right now. So why do you care about failing in entrepreneurship? Why do you care about failing in business? You have to fail in business. Think about the greatest business leaders out there. Every single one of them has a failure story. And by the way, their failure story is probably so massive, because the truth is, you have to fail and fall really hard at some point in your career to learn something or break something fundamentally in your mind to change who you are, to rebuild yourself, to become the person that you're destined to be. You have to fail. So you need to embrace it. But the truth is, most won't. This is your competition, all right? Half these people are never even going to try. They're going to watch from the sidelines. They're going to hate on you. They're going to judge you. They're going to be a part of the most, right? The average, the everybody that judges you for trying. And you have to learn to turn your back on that, to completely reframe your mindset and realize that you cannot be afraid to try. In fact, not trying is what you should be afraid of. Not attempting, not trying to break free, to grow, to be better. That's what you should be afraid of, because you'll never get anywhere if you continue to have that mindset. And then there's another group of people, right? Those that give up within 3 failed attempts. This is a sad thing too, because you have to fail, right? So you don't win or be great at anything or master anything if you stop after a couple of times. Okay. You have to keep going. You have to keep trying. You have to get up again. You have to dust yourself off and keep going. Sack it up. I don't know how else to put it, but failure builds character. Mistakes build character. You learn every time that you fail. I'm going to make a whole video on this because this is such a huge component of mind state and success. But the point is that with failure, there should be learned lessons. Every mistake, obviously, it's costly, but you want to get a return on that investment, if you can call it that. Failure is an investment, okay? You want to get the ROI on that, right? So learn from it and apply it to your future things, your future endeavors, your next business, or the second or third or fourth or fifth or sixth attempt at the same thing, which leads me to my next point. And that is, unfortunately, we live in an era where people's attention span is very short. The concept of mastery has almost disappeared from many people. Most people don't have it anyway, and that's the truth. I hate to say it, and I hate to denigrate the masses, but they're average for a reason. And you're not going to be average because you're going to take what I'm teaching you and apply it, right? I hope so. The point is that a lot of people try something once or twice, and when they see it doesn't work, or they spend a period of time doing it, they move on to the next thing. I was talking to somebody recently who had gotten into e-commerce, and he was like, I'm revisiting now because I tried and I really, really put a lot of energy and effort into my last business and it didn't work. And I gave up, but now I'm back. And I was like, oh, that sounds like a really good story in a way. I'm glad you didn't give up, and I was kind of like really impressed. But then when I asked him how long he'd been doing the last business, it was like 3 months. I'm like, 3 months? That's nothing. I'm sorry, but that is absolutely nothing. I've been in e-commerce for 13 years. I'm still learning. I'm still growing. I'm still making mistakes. Okay. 13 years? That's a long time. And even that's not that long of a time compared to some people, maybe a hedge fund manager that's been doing it for 30 years, a physician that's been a doctor for 30, 40 years. That's real expertise. That's real commitment. And that's real mastery. What you don't want to do is give up after a couple failed attempts. Do not do that. Alex Hormozi put out a great video where he talked about this, kind of optimism and pessimism thing. And the gist of the video was, when things get really hard, when you're in this kind of valley of despair, most people give up, right? They stop because they're like, this is painful. It's not working, whatever. And their frame of mind, their time frame is so skewed because of how society and social media and things like that, make you perceive success, where they give up right when they really should be doubling down, right? And so this is another thing that I want to impart on you. I'm 41 years old. You're probably younger than me, maybe not. Most people that come to me are a lot younger than me. And they say things like, I've been doing this for a long time, or, I'm an expert at this. Or I had someone talk to me about, partnering up with me. They were pitching me and they're like, well, this is what I bring to the table. And the stuff that they were bringing to the table, like their perception of value was totally off. Like they're like, oh, well, I know, how to do sourcing products and create videos. And I'm like, no offense, but that's not equity sharing value. Like I can hire somebody to do that. So not to insult them, but the truth is that most people, especially young people, overestimate, their value. And they also overestimate, like their commitment to something. Like if you give up after 3 attempts, I don't know what to tell you. Like you're not destined to succeed in this. But again, this is your competition. So the bar, as you can see, is not that high. This is the thing. This is why I say it's actually easy. It's not, without challenges, but it's easy because this is your competition. Your competition is giving up. Your competition is not even starting. Or your competition moves too slowly. The analysis paralysis thing is a huge problem for new entrepreneurs or people building businesses. And the one thing I can say I learned so much from my last business partner, who I highly respect and I still speak to regularly to this day, he was an expert at decisiveness. And yes, sometimes he made reckless decisions. And yes, sometimes it cost us, but he moved the ball forward. Okay. And this is a really, really important concept that you need to embrace if you're building a business or doing anything meaningful in life. Perfection is the enemy of progress. Now, I'm not saying be sloppy, but I'm saying do not sacrifice progress to try to get the perfect thing, or worse, be frozen by inaction. Because the greatest leaders, the best CEOs, the best, statesmen, whatever you want to call it, they make decisions. All right. That's what they're doing. They're the decision person, and they bear the responsibility of that decision, which is, another discussion, because heavy is the head that wears the crown. Right. But the point is they make the decisions. Right. And you don't want to be stuck here and be one of these people that moves too slowly and never get anything done. We are in the golden era of e-commerce. Do golden eras last forever? Of course not. At some point, like all markets, like all opportunities, the arbitrage shrinks and the opportunity goes away. So what does that mean? That means you need to take action. That means you need to move the ball forward, whatever it is. I had one of the students in my program message me this long message of desperation, like, I've been searching and searching, and he's going on and on about how, the numbers for this product are not perfect and the numbers for this one aren't, and I can't make a decision. I said, listen, book a call with me, which is, by the way, what I offer with this program. That's what you're getting. You're getting a mentorship from someone who's actually done it. And he got on a call with me, and I let him dump on me, basically explain the whole thing, and the stresses around that. And I said, by the end of next week, we're going to have a product picked out, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. First of all, the numbers are never going to be perfect. You need to combine data with decision-making and assumptions, and you're going to test smartly, which is what I teach. You're not going to go all in on something right away. You want to make sure it works. The point here is to move fast. Within a 2-hour session with him, we had picked out 3 products. We'd found the supplier for them. We had already started the sourcing product. We'd come up with a brand name for the brand. And then we were moving the ball forward. We're going to start with a low MOQ to test it out. We're going to start with affiliates. That was 2 weeks ago, and he's already rolling now. Within a month, we went from panicking to, going to bring in probably 40 or 50K in revenue the first month. So that's my point. You have to take action. Do not move too slowly. Or the last bit, people that got distracted by the next thing. Again, the valley of despair, giving up after a couple failed attempts, moving too slowly, getting distracted. There's always going to be something else that's interesting, that catches your attention, that sounds promising. But the point is, if you keep jumping from one thing to the next, you're never going to achieve that level of mastery that you need to actually generate wealth in your life. The greatest business people have done the same thing for a long time. Did they get distracted by, crypto? Did they get distracted by some other type of business or whatever is popular at the time? No, they doubled down. They doubled down on what they knew. They improved their skill set. They improved their network. They improved everything that they needed around one centered concept or idea. And the rule behind this is really simple, actually. It's simple because it's all about compounding interest. Just like your investments grow with compounding interest over time, and your $1 million over the span of 80 years turns into 100 million, the same thing and principle applies to knowledge. The more you work at something, the better you get at it. It reinforces your desire to get better and learn and improve. The more business you do in an area, the more relationships you have, the more referrals, the more business you get, the better you get at it, the more people that you connect with in that business, and on and on and on. It's a compounding effect, same as investments, that applies to whatever your area of focus is. And the problem is that people do not commit the real amount of time. Going back to my earlier comment, you think that 1 year is a long time. It's not a long time. All right. 10 years is really what it takes to master something in truth. Okay. But the point is that you can't be distracted by something else along the way. So don't be one of those people that falls into that trap of being distracted by the next thing. And at the end of this is you and me, us. We're different, right? We're different because we're not afraid to try. We're different because we don't give up after a couple times of failing. In fact, we use those failures as fuel to be better, to improve ourselves. We extract an ROI from those failures and those losses. We don't move too slowly. We're decisive. We make decisions and we move the ball forward, even if it's not perfect. And we don't get distracted by the next big thing. We double down on what we're good at and we compound that effect. That's us and that's you. I hope this video helped you. Don't be afraid to try. That's the first step. See you out there.